Now, what's really, really remarkable, the traditions talk about the timeless nature of reality. And what's remarkable to just feel right now, feel the way in which what we call the moment, what's here, present, being experienced right now. See if you can sort of hone in on the instant, the point that's not past, that's not future, but that's right now. Just feel that. It's like a point, the instant. Not past, not future, but right now. It has no beginning. It's just right here without anything leading up to it. It's always right here. No past, just right here. But what's very wild is that this point of now it doesn't last. It's like it's like this constant disappearance of what's here. I speak about this all the time, about the vitality of what's present here, the sense that we have of its non-static, dynamic nature. We're just feeling this right now, the aliveness of this, the vitality of this moment. The moment doesn't stop and hold still and go, here it is, here's this bounded point in time that we call the present moment. It's like stopped. We can put a boundary around it and identify the beginning and the end of it as some sort of discrete point. No, it's just absolute dynamism, that it has no duration. It's here instantaneously and gone instantaneously, and yet here instantaneously and gone instantaneously. If you imagine the sound of my voice, so it has a sense of out of nothing, if I'm just silent, and now I'm speaking, so I make a sound, and the sound, the uttering of the sound is both its appearance as a moment, but the sound moves, it's dynamic, and so the appearance of the sound of my voice is its disappearance simultaneously. That's how constantly morphing and changing and impermanent the moment is. And in a very real sense, there is no moment. And yet it shows up as all of this, the flow of time, the seeming flow of time. I mean, I would never deny that. So it's very paradoxical. And those of you who have been hanging out with me in these calls, reading my stuff and so on, also know that I'm speaking all the time about the way in which our experience cannot be encapsulated with words. I began speaking about that at the outset. And well, why is that? Well, there's several reasons why that is. But this dynamism is really a central reason why what's here, this moment, despite the dictionaries that are filled with words to describe the nature of what's going on here, all those words that we use as humans to characterize the moment rest upon this assumption of fixedness, this assumption of thingness, this assumption of boundedness of the moment. So imagine you're like a experiential scientist, and you've got the microscope of your consciousness, and you're looking at this moment to describe this moment to me. I ask you, well, what is this moment? Put this moment into words. You have language, right? Presumably the language suggests that things can be languaged. Okay, so let's do it. Like, let's look at this moment with our consciousness microscope, look at it, and tell me what it is. See if you can define it. And so what happens is, there we are, we're here right now, actually. It's not an abstract thing. Here we are looking at the moment, in a sense, noticing the moment. What is this? And what we're looking at, that we might attempt to define with our words and concepts, pin down, what is this? As we're looking at it, it's changing into something else, isn't it? You see how impossible it is to define what's here. How powerful that is, to see that, to feel that. Because it is transforming itself. I mean, feel the way in which what's here right now is like I know the image I have is like a flower that's opening. And it's like, it's actually not, it may seem at times as if the flower of the moment opens and then it holds still long enough so we can tell what it is. But the opening, feel the way in which the opening of the moment, it keeps opening into something else, into something else, into something else. This flow, this openness, very easeful, isn't it? It just keeps transforming. It just keeps reconfiguring itself, reimagining itself in every instant. It's a flow of constant transformation, isn't it? So there we go to define what's here, which we do all the time with language. Oh, this is, and we name the object or the state or whatever it is, and it's already gone on just like that. It's not like it's hung out for a while in that form. No, it changed, even if in the subtlest of ways. Like I've said this before, it's like looking at a cloud in the sky and it looks like it's a certain shape. But if you're actually really noticing, if you're really looking, you can see that the cloud is a shapeshifter, isn't it? You can't say what the shape of the cloud is. You can't say what the shape of this movement is because it's moving, which is why you can't pin down what it is. You cannot define what it is. It slips away from definition. It eludes our definitions. Now, one of the reasons, and I've been reflecting on this last couple of days, why this is so profound and has such profound implications for us as the humans that we are, that we seem to be, is that I mean, what tends to, the things that we imagine to be problems, right, with us, things that something is out of alignment or out of whack or feels incomplete or lacking or confusing or entrapping, a sense of limitation, a sense of separation, a sense of incompleteness, a sense of non-enlightenment, if we've hung around spiritual teachings enough, right? A sense of not being aware enough, not being awake enough, and on and on and on it goes, right? All those things that we are imagining are happening that we have to somehow get beyond or free ourselves from or see through, or they're not actually there. They're not findable. Because when you go to find incompleteness and lack and division and separation as phenomena with your awareness microscope, you can't pin it down. You cannot define them. They're not determinable. They're not definable. They're not resolvable. And that is freedom. It's the recognition that there's never been anything called bondage. You can't find bondage. You can't look. You can't find it. Where is it? You can't find the one that you imagine is bound, i.e. you, and you can't find this thing, this discrete phenomena called bondage or separation. You cannot find it. And that not being able to find these phenomena that we have all these words and names for, and that we imagine are the source of our suffering and our confusion and our spiritual lack or our human lack, they cannot be found. And that unfindability is the finding. That's the discovery. That's the discovery. That is concretely findable. It sounds contradictory, but you can find that this is unfindable. You can see that. You can feel that. You can feel it right now, that this can't be pinned down. And that's freedom from all of the ideas that seem to suggest lack and limitation and bondage. To be sure, this unfindable, infinite indescribability can show up as all of these things that we call suffering and entrapment, as well as freedom and openness and joy, and it can show up as anything. But in a very real way, it never really becomes anything. But it definitely looks like it does. It never becomes anything in the sense of it's like it appears to become something formed, but because the form is dynamic, it never really comes into form. Because whatever form it has come in, it has now become something else. And which is what I believe is meant in some of the traditions where they talk about the unborn, resting in the unborn, uncreated. What are they talking about? This is unborn in the sense of it never really becomes anything. It's always just itself. It's always just this. It's always just reality. It's always just pure, inconceivable, absolute. It never actually becomes limited and identified and bound, even though, again, it can certainly seem like it does. And we all know We all know what that's like.